When I was 8 years old, he lived on my block. We played hide and go seek. He kissed me at Tammy's house in the closet, then he ran away. I was confused. I was the chubby girl on the block back then. In high school, we took the bus to the movies. We saw Fame, and we had pizza. I had a Jerry curl. When I was 19, he gave me a card on our anniversary, and he bought me a ring with my birthstone. He sold weed. He got a job in City Hall, processing the mail. He wanted to get married. When I was 20, he wanted to get married. It was too soon for me. I had just started a new job. I had just bought a new car. I was trying to get out of my mother's house and away from my parents' crazy marriage. I didn't want to get married. His parents divorced when he was young, so he wanted to get married. His father taught at Rutgers. His mother looked white, but she was black. He kind of looked like his mother. He was Afrocentric. He was always talking about free Nelson Mandela and Carter G. Woodson. He made me pancakes. He made me bake Cornish hens and potatoes. He got on my nerves sometime. He had bipolar issues. He didn't know how to control his anger. "I'm going home," I said. Then he punched a hole in the wall and broke his hand. He was mad at his parents because they got divorced. He had lost living with his mother. His father kept him, and his mother kept his sister. We broke up because I didn't want to get married. And a year later, he got engaged to another girl. I was so hurt. I told him I wanted him back. But his father told me, leave him alone. On the day of his wedding, I heard he looked for me. He thought I'd walk through the door to stop the wedding, but I didn't. Years later, when we were 30, I heard he was going off in the hospital. He was going crazy in the emergency room. His father had took a substance, and it made blood come out of his nose, out of his eyes, out of his ears. His heart had exploded. I wanted to give my condolences. I asked God to help me. I didn't know his phone number, and I didn't know where he lived. I was driving towards Newark one day, and I saw him driving in the opposite direction. We stopped, and I gave him a hug. He had one child by his wife, and then 6 more kids by some random girl after his divorce. When he broke up with his wife, I was marrying someone else. So we lived our separate lives. One night, 10 years later, he had heartburn, so he went to lie down. When they went to check up on him, they found him dead. He had had a heart attack. He was only 40 years old. He died the year I got my divorce. Strange. When we were 8 years old and we played hide and go seek, it was like that when we were grown-ups too. I left him and he looked for me, and he left me and I looked for him. We married other people, had separate families of kids, but we were always joined in our hearts. We were always special to each other. He was the love of my life. He was a medical student at George Washington University. When I met him, I had on my Spanish hat, so I looked like Houdini in the One Love video. He lived in Prince George's County. He asked me if he could take off his condom. I can't believe I let him do that. He parked out front of our apartment building on 16th Street while I sat in his car. He was there for 15 minutes. When he came out the building, I just looked at him. "What?" he said. I didn't say anything, but what was he doing? He took me to see Michael Jackson at the Cap Center. But 3 weeks after Michael Jackson, the medical student stopped calling me. He said he wanted to be just friends. I had no interest in being just friends. "You have to learn to love yourself," he said. "You're not making it easier," I told him. Maybe he wanted somebody stronger, somebody who said something about no condom or parking on 16th Street. 20 years later, the medical student recognized me in Prince George's County. He started calling me from across the street. He said he remembered me and my poetry. We hugged, but I made it quick. I didn't even ask if he was a doctor. Why should I ask? It's too late. He stopped calling me. He broke up with me. I married someone else.